We'll be getting a better look at what lies ahead for the massive rescue and recovery mission happening there today. Crews are preparing for another burst of heavy rain as they search through tough terrain and high waters in the aftermath of Friday's historic floods. At least 82 people have died and more than 40 remain missing, including children. The flash flood happened when the Guadalupe River rose more than 8 meters in less than 2 hours on Friday. Hundreds have been rescued, but it is a tough task to find those still unaccounted for. Rescue teams have been digging through deep mud and clearing dense debris in a search for the missing. Among them, 10 young girls and their counselor at Camp Mystic. It is an all-girls camp right near the river.
Those babies. If it was my babies, I'd want somebody looking, so that's why I'm here.
Families of the missing campers are being allowed to join in the search for their loved ones. The camp itself is in ruins. It was in the worst hit area. We have extensive coverage on this story. Sam Sampson is in Washington and Lee Waldman is on the ground in Hunt, Texas. Let's start in Washington with Sam. There are so many questions about why so many people were caught off guard by these floods, Sam. Officials are taking a lot of heat over the potential of delayed advance warnings. What are you hearing from people who survived the flash floods?
Well, exactly. And I mean, they're coping with that. They're working through heartbreak and grief and anxiety, but they're also, especially people who live along that Guadalupe River, they say they did not get warnings at all about the danger and instead woke up to water in their homes. They had to break out of their windows, rush outside and swim to safety. Here's how one woman who was visiting family when the flood hit described the notifications that she received.
No warnings at all. They came hours later, which was the most devastating part. You know, we got the warnings on our phones hours later. The destruction had already been done before the warnings came out.
The National Weather Service did send out warnings. It warned of potential flooding earlier in the week. Then on Friday at 1:14 a.m., a cell phone notification went out about flash flooding for Kerr County, and that is the worst hit region. And then the warnings got even more urgent from there. But still, many who live around there and survived the danger question whether enough was done.
Well, so what are other officials saying? Because there is this sort of back and forth about what was said, when it was said. What else are you hearing?
Well, the people on the ground, local and state officials, say no one could have seen this storm coming the way it happened, and they say they took proper precautions. Now, over the weekend, we also heard that the county that was the worst hit did consider a residential system to warn of flash flooding years ago, since this region is so prone to it, but they said it was too expensive. And one official even suggested some residents have warning fatigue. Now, nationally...
Pick your favorite football team and... Now imagine that team has, instead of 11 players, has 8 players. They're going to lose. No matter how good they are, they can't do the job of the full team. And that's what's happening at NOAA, is these are outstanding scientists, wonderful technicians, terrific policy folks. But if we don't have enough of them doing the job, then something falls off the table.
And so that right there, he's speaking about these national concerns about how U.S. President Donald Trump's recent cuts to weather agencies affected the way people receive those warnings. So we're talking agencies like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. The worry from critics is that those cuts meant Americans would not be as prepared as they could have been for dangerous weather. And those concerns, as you heard, are being repeated now. Now, Crystal, the president told reporters last night he did not think that those cuts were a factor in how Texas residents were warned about the danger. Trump was asked, in light of this tragedy, would he hire back that staff to help with future weather events? He said no. His administration did promise, though, over the weekend to update weather warning technology, and Trump himself said he planned to visit Central Texas on Friday.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. Sam Sampson reporting from us from Washington. This is the scene in Kerrville, Texas this morning, one of the hardest hit communities after those flash floods devastated the central part of the state Friday. At least 82 people have died, dozens still missing. Among the dead, 27 from Camp Mystic, an all-girls camp on the banks of the Guadalupe River, including the camp's director. As you heard Chris talk about, more rain is expected in the forecast. Those flash floods continue to pose a danger in several parts of the state. And those images are really just a part of the scene, a small part of the scene, because there's just widespread devastation across the state. Let's go to Central Texas now, where it is daylight, and Lee Waldman of CNN joins me from Hunt, Texas. Lee, go through the latest in those recovery and rescue operations that are kicking off this morning.
Yeah, it's been a flurry of activity here, Crystal. We've seen a lot of state troopers coming through here. We just spoke to a man who came from the San Antonio area. He was here yesterday, back again today. He said he can't just sit by and watch on TV as people are out searching for kids and other missing people after these floodwaters came through on Friday morning. And you talked about that damage and destruction. I want to show you some of it here. This is the Hunt store. It was a long-standing store in this community that was a meeting place for music, for families to gather for a meal after leaving the Guadalupe River. But even across the street, if we can show you some of that devastation across the street there, that debris that's still left behind, massive trees snapped like twigs. Yesterday we saw utility crews by the dozen out here trying to restore those power lines that were swept away by these floodwaters. Mass devastation. We also, Crystal, have a new statement for you this morning from Camp Mystic, which is just down the road from where we are. And it reads in part, Camp Mystic is grieving the loss of 27 campers and counselors following the catastrophic flooding on the Guadalupe River. They also lost the director of that camp as well, who perished trying to save the campers' lives. It's a widespread devastation. It's horrific to see what happened to this beautiful community.
Lee, thank you so much. An absolutely harrowing scene there, and those rescue operations will continue. Appreciate your time with us today.